Welcome everyone, my name is Jan Werle and I would like to introduce to you the most important variations arising after bishop b4 check. And this is the main line of the Catalan. It has a solid reputation and the position remains a close character here. So white plays bishop d2 and here black has several options. We go through all of them, a5 or c5 or even queen e7, you name it. But bishop d6 is a move I played myself with the black pieces quite often, but this is the absolute main line, and black will follow up in solid fashion with c6 and b6 to fianchetto his bishop to b7 or bishop a6. A lot of options, he's very flexible and he maintains his strong central pawn and is not seduced by taking on c4, winning a pawn, which is often the case in the open character. So, after bishop b4 check, yeah, there are definitely options after bishop d2. So, as mentioned, black can play queen e7, bishop g2, short castling, short castling. The position gets here a little bit an open character, true. There are some lines we have to deal with and look at them all. So queen c2, knight b d7, queen takes c4 and bishop d6. And the position looks a little bit like the Ragozin. So black puts the bishop from b4 again to d6 and then is preparing for e5. This is one way of playing. Another way of playing is just to take on d2. We take back with the knight, short castling bishop d2, queen e7, short castling rook d8. And one of the ideas for white here comes back all the time is to push the pawn towards e4 and to get the initiative in the center. But black tries to stop that with knight c6. It's, on the other hand, when you put the knight on c6, also a bit of an ugly move because this is a backward pawn, but the whole idea in this position is to play e5, and all the time I would like to give to you a weapon how to fight this this way of playing by black. So I would like to go rook fd1. I like this move a lot because it's not only good for development but also stops e5 due to the forced variation c takes d5, knight c4. And we see now what is the use of the rook because the knight is pinned, the queen has to leave and we're winning a piece. So all kind of subtleties there are all the time is variation, and I try to teach you how to play the Catalan in your favor. Well, bishop d7 is another line, happened in a game of two grandmasters, and you will see it soon enough. So as said, a5 is a definite move, an important move here, and queen c2. And there's c5, for example, there's bishop e7, there's b6, and there's also c6. After c5, I would like to take on c5. Peculiar about this line is that the engine actually is not so very enthusiastic about the white position, but I delved into this position, and white gets a very nice blockading square on e4. The knight on b3 can defend the pawn on c5. We maintain our extra pawn, and practically speaking, the position is just very hard for black to deal with, and that's why I recommend it to you. Positionally speaking, we also had a good way of fighting for the advantage. So c5 is another move we take, and black's pawn structure is a little bit broken. Please also have a look at the model games and at the exercises within each chapter because you understand the lines more properly. And then there is less a sideline. This has been tried a couple of times, but yeah, throughout the years again it lost a little bit of its popularity, and that is because of the game of Ding Liren against Topalov. This is the main line. Black goes back with the queen, and the whole point is that after e4, d takes c4, knight d2. I played this in a Bundesliga game in Berlin against Lampert. I was with the black pieces, and I think I won in a nice game. I annotated it with bishop c7, and the thing is that black has the pawn majority. He managed to swap one of my bishops and deprive me of my bishop pair, but nevertheless I managed to capitalize on my pawn majority and won convincingly. So another sideline after g3 is not checking immediately on b4, but black can also play bishop e7. It's not a very logical move because, yeah, we know that after check and going back to e7, the bishop is not superbly placed. So why would black refrain from this option? Well, here d takes c4. We're back again after d takes c4 in the open character, in the open Catalan. So we're not going to deal with that. I would like to refer to you to part 1. But black can also play other lines. You just go for c6. Then there is bishop d6 immediately without a check on b4. I faced this against this peculiar move against the Russian Grandmaster Ikonikov in the Dutch competition, and I played the less convincing knight c3, cd5, and hoped that with a knight on e5 and king on h1, rook g1 I got attacking chances, also due to the slight weakening of the king. But yeah, that was kind of a cold shower. My opponent played very solid style and kind of, well, equalized, outplayed me a little bit, and he had no problem whatsoever, and the game ended in a draw. But when I delved deeper in the position, I understood that I should have played b3, like the way Gelfand played, and then there's knight c3 to put pressure on d5, rook c1, and there's knight d2. And all the time in these Catalan positions, we try to break through in the center to push the pawn to e4, because we kind of do good business there. Swapping our e-pawn against the d-pawn, we seize the space in the center, and our Catalan bishop shines across the diagonal. All right, let's return to the mainline bishop b4, bishop d2. We looked already at several ideas, but now let's go to the mainline bishop e7, bishop g2. And black often puts his pawns on c6, b6, and then bishop on b7, so to fianchetto. There are also other ideas we deal with, that is knight d7, and then black puts the knight on e4 quickly. It was tried once by Carlsen, only once, because then afterwards the white players knew how to handle with this variation. We should keep in mind that black often opts then for a Stonewall setup. Another line is c6 and then short castling, queen c2, which comes down to the same thing. And here black has several ways of playing, and one of them is knight b7, and black delays castling. And this is a tricky way of playing, and it was introduced by the Ukrainian strong grandmaster Elyanov. So here after b6 he plays, we aim for a4. What is the tricky thing to delay castling? Of course, first of all, to confuse us, and secondly that black immediately can put pressure on c4 and e2 pawn by playing bishop a6. Short castling would just be transposing, and here bishop a6, b3, short castling, we play for a5. And the positions get pretty wild. Black can opt for b5, we can just go on with playing rook c1, and so on. Well, in case of short castling, which is more absolute main line-ish, then there's queen c2, and black has two options, and we act in two different ways. So please be accurate and try to remember this. This is already a starter for you, this introduction video. First of all, if black plays b6, we play this peculiar move knight e5. And it's important to realize what's going on, because black now cannot play knight b7 because of knight takes c6. And black is kind of forced to play bishop b7 to defend that pawn and not play bishop a6. Well, we take, and yeah, the game suddenly gets a very strange turn, because we give up the tension in the center, and black, of course, kind of forced to take with the c pawn, because the e pawn, yeah, we get in a Queen's Indian set up, which is just a bit more pleasant for us after knight c3, bishop f4, and so on. So c takes d5, and here we play rook c1. We haven't put the rook yet on d1. which is the absolute main line, not our main line, but if you look into the database, mostly played through d1, but we deviate slightly also to get our opponent confused. And the lines arising are quite dangerous because we try to invade on the square c7. Well, another line is not b6 here, but knight bd7, which stops us from playing knight e5. But here we play again a little bit of a tricky move, and we're entering a Catalan offbeat line here. And it's aimed against the moves b6 and bishop b7 to have our rook already and exert pressure there on the queen side. Well, after a4, a5, there's a lot of chaos which has to be solved, and we make it the life of our opponent not so easy here. So this, in a nutshell, are all the plans of white in the closed Catalan, arising after bishop b4 check. So the move orders are very important. Try to realize what's going on, which move comes first, and if black can come back to these type of positions. Another idea which I've seen Geary playing was a5, and then later on he moves back, and again he's changing to the setup with c6 and b6. Thank you for watching, and I hope you would enjoy this video very much, and the entire course absolutely too. I think in most of the lines I can guarantee you an advantage. Also in the main lines we make the life of black very hard. Have fun and see you around.